Today in geometry, we're looking at section 4.6, which are proofs using CPCTC. So this is our first one. It says given RP bisects angle QRS and angle QPS. They want us to prove that segment RQ is congruent to segment RS. So again, our very first statement, we always start out with what they give to me. So segment RP bisects angle QRS and angle QPS given. So then we look at our picture. This is why we did all those marking diagrams, and we say, okay, what does that mean? Bisects means cuts in half, so it cuts these angles in half. So angle QRS, both of those get a tick mark, and angle QPS is on this side. They would get 2 angle marks. So then I could say angle QRP is congruent to angle SRP, and angle QPR is congruent to angle SPR. And my reason, definition of angle bisector. So if I'm going to prove that RQ is congruent to RS, if I could prove that the 2 triangles were congruent, then by CPCTC, I can prove that all the corresponding parts are congruent. I see they have this side, they share that side, so I could say that PR, or RP, since I wrote R first, is congruent to RP by the reflexive property of congruence. Now I have 3 things that are congruent. I can say that the triangles are congruent. So I can say triangle QPR is congruent to triangle SPR. My reason, I have angle side angle, so ASA. Now that I know that my triangles are congruent, I can now say that all the corresponding parts are congruent. So I can now say what they asked me to prove, which is RQ is congruent to segment RS, and my reason is CPCTC. Okay, corresponding parts, congruent triangles are congruent. Okay, let's look at another one. So given, so number 1, segment MA is congruent to segment TH, given. So I'm going to mark those. Number 2, segment MA is parallel to segment TH, also given. So that gives me alternate interior angles. They want me to prove angle A is congruent to angle H. So alternate interior angles, I can do this angle and this angle. So I can then say angle AMT is congruent to angle HTM. My reason, alternate interior angle theorem. I have 2 things congruent. I need 1 more. They share this side. So I could say segment MT is congruent to itself, segment MT, by the reflexive property of congruence. Now I have 3 things congruent. I can say that the 2 triangles are congruent. So I could say triangle MAT is congruent to triangle THM. My reason, what do I have? I have a side, an angle, and a side, so SAS. Now I can say all corresponding parts are congruent. So now I can prove what they asked me. Angle A is congruent. This should have said, well, it says equals, so we'll go ahead and put an M up there. Angle A is congruent to angle H by CPCTC. And then we can say that the measure of angle A equals the measure of angle H by the definition of congruence. Right? All right. So really what we're doing is same type of proofs as we did yesterday, only one step further. After we prove the triangle is congruent, then we have to use CPCTC to prove that corresponding parts are congruent. So this last one, here's our statement. Here's our reason column. So number one, they give me that AB is equal to 8. Actually, I shouldn't have that segment bar above since I have equals. And CB is equal to 8, given. So I know AB and CB are equal to each other. They also tell me that segment BD bisects angle ABC, given. So now, if BD bisects angle ABC is my angle up here at the top, it means it got cut in half. So I can say that angle ABD is congruent to angle CBD, definition of angle bisector. I need three things to be congruent. Up here I have AB equals 8 and CB equals 8, but I don't have that they're congruent to each other. So I'm going to rewrite and say AB equals, instead of 8, I'm going to plug in CB because CB is also 8. That's the substitution property that lets me do that. Now that I have them equal, I can say that they are congruent by the definition of congruence. Now I have two things congruent, but I see that they share this side. So I can say that BD is congruent to itself by the reflexive property of congruence. Now I have three things. I can say that the triangles are congruent. So I could say triangle ABD is congruent to triangle CDB. My reason, I have a side, an angle, and a side, so that's SAS. Now that I know my triangles are congruent, I can now say all corresponding parts are congruent. Then I could say angle A is congruent to angle C. Again, my reason, CPCTC, corresponding parts, congruent triangles are congruent. I believe that was the last one I had for you. Yes, it is. So our homework is the 4.6 proof worksheet. So we're doing the exact same thing. So first we'll have to get three things congruent, prove the triangles congruent, and then go from there and say, because of corresponding parts, congruent triangles are congruent, we can prove whatever they're asking us. All right, so that's 4.6 proofs, just one step further than proving the triangles congruent.